viewers, and welcome to the Optics Room. This is going to be a podcast where we expand our field of view into the optical industry by talking to leading experts. Now, today, we're honored to have Rishi Vyas, the first guest on our podcast. He's a joint venture partnership with Vision Express. I'll let him introduce himself. Rishi.
Hi, my name's Rishi. I'm a JV director with Vision Express, along with my partner Daniel. I've been in optics for about 11 years now, so quite a long time. Just joined Vision Express within the last 6 months.
Amazing. So I know you've had quite a journey, and it's so interesting how far you've come. And I know we worked a little bit together in the middle as well at Specsavers for a few months before you moved on. That was just at the beginning of the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. So talk me through your journey, because it's amazing what you've done and how far you've come.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was about 17 years old, first year of A-levels, absolutely flopped them completely. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But my sister found out that there was a ophthalmic dispensing course at Candy College. So I thought I'd give that a go. Since then, I haven't looked back. I've worked in independents, multiple different Specsavers. Even for being a DO, I locumed so much across the whole country. I think DO wasn't enough, and I think I really wanted to be an optom. So then I branched out, went to Aston University, spent a few years there, and then while I was there, I was locuming part-time as a DO. So that gave me real good knowledge of the industry and how things are working, and that leads me to where I am today.
That's quite inspirational, because you started from DO and then you did another optom course after that. How many years was that altogether?
Oh, too many. We're looking at two years of DO, 3 years of optom. So yeah, quite a bit.
And then a pre-reg after that as well.
A pre-reg after each one, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's worth it in the end. People think that studying for a period of years before you start actually working in the industry that you want to work in can be seen as a waste of time. But you're a prime example as to why hard work pays off in the end, because you are where you are now. So yeah. What made you become a JV, a joint venture partnership?
So I've spent every minute of my working career in every part of the business in terms of optics. So, I've been the lab technician, I've been the DO, the OA, the store manager, ASM. So I've done all the roles, and I got to myself to a position where I thought, well, I can pretty much do everything now. That really the next step would be to have my own practice. And it was the best position I was in, because I've been a lab tech, because I've been a manager, an OA, and also an optom. I could put all those skills together and actually create a team and a business that flourishes really well. So with all that kind of those things behind me, I just thought, yeah, let's give this a go. And why not? Like, it's such an achievement, isn't it?
It is. So did you ever consider buying an independent as opposed to a franchise?
Yeah, so me and Daniel, so I met Daniel about 11 years ago when I started the DO course. So we've been through everything together, and he's followed the same path that I have. We thought about independence. We looked at Specsavers, Boots, all the different franchise models that are available, and Vision Express just seemed to be the best that suited our morals, our lifestyle, how we want to run the business. So for us, it was a no-brainer to go with Vision Express. Their morals are the same as ours, their ethics, the way they look after their customers and their colleagues. And that's really something that worked well with us. So it just made sense to go with them.
That's good. I think it's important to work with a company that aligns with your values, because otherwise you're going to clash somewhere along the way. And when that happens, it's just like keeping something away that's going to come up to the surface. So it's good that you're working for a company where your values align and you see yourself there for a number of years now. So tell me about how has life changed since you become a director?
Oh, busy. The buck stops with you at the end of the day. If you're one man down and it's your day off, it's no longer your day off anymore. You got to go in and cover, right? And the beauty of what me and Dan have done over the years, where we've learned all aspects of the business, it means that if we are an optical assistant down, well, it's fine. It's a shop floor day for me today. You know, if I've got an optom down, I'm jumping in the test room. You know, later on down the line, we're going to be looking at opening a lab. And again, you know, if a lab tick down, we jump in the lab. So it's been busy. It's been stressful. Post-pandemic, there's been this post-pandemic blues. And obviously trying to get through that's a little bit tough at the moment. But we've got, you know, things in the right place to help us out now. So it should be good.
That's good. And has it impacted your life outside of work?
Do you know what? At the beginning, yes, you know, the first few months, you know, it's hard not to let it because there's so many things you want to go in and try and accomplish and improve. But actually, at the moment, I found that back to kind of work social life balance, which is good. Still able to, you know, meet my friends and do things that I want to do. Yeah, there's the odd occasion where I might have to cancel plans because, you know, I'm going dragged back into work or something important's happening. But generally, otherwise, we've got a good balance now, which is
Enough time
nice.
to get your haircut in, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm sure you'll appreciate Rishi's amazing beard there. It's been like that for a number of years, let me tell you. So tell me about your challenges as a director in terms of either your staff
Yeah, so
or
I think
meeting your
yeah, absolutely. So I think in currently where we're located, so being in Kingston, we're in Southwest London. Kingston's not generally very well connected in terms of transport. So we found a little bit of difficulty in terms of OA recruitment. That's quite a challenge where we're based. Obviously, looking at the demographic of Kingston, you know, when we looked at Kingston as a place, you know, me and Dan looked at things like you know, what kind of jobs do people do in that area and the demographics. And we looked at, I think it was something silly like 10% of people that live in Kingston actually work in retail.
okay.
So we knew that our colleagues are going to be coming from further distances. So, you know, how do we make sure that this is a great place for them to work so they don't mind doing a little bit of travel? You know, how can we get things in place for training for them? How can we help them to progress? So they're not just coming in doing a clocking in, clocking out job. It's more about building a career for them. So these are the challenges that we face. But so far, we've got an absolutely amazing team. I'm actually proud to say that my colleagues work hard and we all work together, which is nice. It's better than hardly working, right? So they're
Yeah.
working hard, definitely.
So you touched a bit on training so that they feel that they're also progressing, not just coming in 9 to 5. So what kind of training do you provide? How do you incentivize them to progress and learn?
Absolutely. So Vision Express has such a wide range of training material available for all of our colleagues. So there's lots of internal courses that they can go on to really progress themselves further. We've got a colleague that we're looking at progressing into ASM positions. We've taken OAs, turned them into store managers. So
Oh,
there's
nice.
really so much training that's been put aside for them, specifically for them through VE. Dan and I like to think that you know, our kind of 11 years in experience between us, we've done a little bit of training ourselves, which has worked really, really well. But even just taking, you know, YouTube videos as an example, you know, there's lots of YouTube videos out there to help you with things like frame styling and the best fit frames for certain types of lenses. So we find lots of different things and we put them together in training material for our colleagues. And it's really, really worked well. Really
No,
worked well.
good. So I think it's always important when you're going to go work somewhere to know that you're not just fixed in one place. But I think you mentioned this about 2 or 3 times now, your partnership with Dan. Obviously, you guys have known each other for a very long time. And how important is it to have someone that you can trust working with in a business?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we've known each other for about 11 years, right? So, and at university when we went to Aston, we lived together for 3 of those years. And let me tell you, like, when you've lived with someone, you've seen them at their highs and you've seen them at their lows, right? And
Yeah,
they've
definitely.
also seen you in those times as well. I remember having a chat with him. It was I think it was our final exam, third year BV module, and we're sat there thinking, what the hell are we doing? You know, did we bite off too much than we could chew? You know, should we have just stayed DOs, right? We should have been content with that and not being greedy and try and be these optons. But I tell you what, if you can get through that, you can get through absolutely anything, honestly.
Yeah, and it must help because he's an optom as well. So I guess you guys can cover each other's clinics when you need. I know a big part of
Yeah.
sometimes being an optom is annual leave. It's not, there's just not enough cover. But it's good that you've got that. So what kind of
Absolutely.
challenges have you faced as a director?
So I think the biggest challenge that I think a lot of directors are facing up and down the country, which is the post-COVID. 2 years ago today, a lot of stores weren't open, which means you don't have that regular 2-year recalls of patients coming through the doors. So a lot of people are seeing a drop in volume. I think it's fair to say that across, Vision Express, Independence, a lot of spec directors that I know are also having a drop in volume. That I think is the biggest challenge. For now, there's so much support that's available to us through LOC, through the NHS, so much out there. So it's really just about just slowly tapping into all that support that's available to us, and it's doing well so far.
That's amazing. Now, so with all the experience that you've had before you became a JVP, it's a different ball game having your own business. As you said, the buck stops with you. So what have you learned so far that you didn't know before?
Oh, it's so much. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, I'll give you an example. When we were in Uxbridge working there, if there was um, a 91-year-old patient in a wheelchair with prisms and plus 10 prescription, you would sit there and you go, oh, this is a little bit hard. Can one of you guys take this? This is going to be quite a difficult one. And we had Bobby, didn't we, to
Yeah,
palm that off to.
yeah.
If you found something difficult, Bobby was a guy with over 20 years experience. It would be like any other eye test for him. He being the lead optoms, we're doing it ourselves. And that's been a challenge actually, trying to handle a 25-minute clinic and also see difficult cases and also be able to spend the time that each patient needs. Not trying to sit there and go, I'll wrap this up in 20 minutes, but really trying to take that time. And this is what's nice about having Daniel with me, is that I can give him a nod and say, look, I'm going to be a little bit longer, so I want to take my time and make sure everything's perfect for this patient. And he'll give me a little nod back to say, yeah, that's fine, take the time, and I'll cover the clinic. So that's been really, really good. That's been really helpful.
So I think you've got two big responsibilities. You've got big clinical responsibility, and then you've got your JVP hat on as well. Do the two ever clash, or are they side by side?
I think it's really important to make sure that they don't clash and to keep reminding myself that actually I'm a clinician first more than anything else. Yes, there's a business aspect, and you could argue that there's a businessman hat there to put on at certain times, but we're clinicians first, and our patients mean more to us than the business side of things. If we show that we are caring, compassionate to our customers and our patients, then the business side of things will come. This isn't a short game where we're trying to increase our conversion and take as much as we can from each patient. Stores like that never work. It's all about spending the time with each patient, making sure they're happy, and compassion is there and shown, and the business will thrive from that. Whether it's 5 years down the line, whether it's 10 years down the line, even if it's 20 years down the line, as long as we show our compassion and care and clinicians first, everything else will fall into place.
Exactly. And when you show that care to the customer, who else will they go to? Again, they're just going to come back to you because you looked after them the best. Now there's so many opticians around. There's independents, there's franchises. How do you make sure that yours stands out from the rest? What do you do to help fight the competition in a healthy way?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it comes back to what I said there before. If you just give your absolute all to every single patient that sits down in your chair or comes through your doors, if you can just try your best with every single person, your best is always going to be enough. That's always going to be enough to get them coming back. If you're half-hearted, or if you're knocking out, I've worked in places where I've seen people knocking out, 5-10 minute eye tests, and you just think, how are you building a rapport with that customer? How are you understanding their needs? It takes me 5 minutes to even do a history now, because I'm really interested in figuring out what are the needs of that customer, and am I addressing that chief complaint at the end? And I think that as long as you're addressing the chief complaint, that patient's going to be happy at the end. They're going to say, I've come in with a problem, you've solved it, and they'll keep coming back because they know that if they come to you with a problem, you're solving it for them.
That's it. I think it's important to link why they come in to the final solution that you give them. And if they can track that in their mind, they know that their problem is solved. It's like they've gone to the doctor and they've got medicine for whatever they need. It's the same thing. How has it been assembling your own team? Have you had to recruit? And what kind of things do you look for when you're recruiting so that they fit well in your team? Because sometimes you can have the best candidate, but they're just not a right fit for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've done a lot of optical assistant recruitment. And in our optical assistant recruitment and some of our senior management as well, the biggest thing that we look for is someone that's friendly and approachable. We want all of our colleagues as well as our customers to be able to see the friendly, approachable side of all of our optical assistants. That's the number one thing for us. And going down the line, we're not really interested too much about experience, because they can gain it's never had a minute of optical experience, because we know that we can give them that training to get them to a position where you are dispensing proficiently, and also dealing with customers proficiently as well. The biggest thing that we have noticed in a lot of the recruitment is that there's a lot of people coming in not even knowing what the role of optical assistant even means and what it entails and what kind of job it is. I've had someone come in and he said, I work in Morrison's. It's pretty much the same job. And when I asked him, what does an optical assistant mean to you? He said, it's like I'm stacking shelves at Morrison's. And to say there's anything against stacking shelves in Morrison's,
Yeah.
It was just that, wow, this is so much more. There's so much more admin involved. There's so much more care when it comes to patient interactions, and also you're dispensing spectacles, you're dispensing contact lenses, which makes such a big difference to these patients. And there's so much care and attention to detail in the job as an optical assistant. I'm a big campaigner that I really don't think optical assistants get paid enough for what they do. They're such fantastic support staff for us as optometrists and DOs. And I really think they should really be getting paid a lot more than they are right now.
Exactly, because they're the oil that makes our store run, isn't it? We can sit in our room and do an eye test that we do every day, but if it doesn't work well outside, everything's gone to pot. And they're the face of the business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
What's the most important thing you think you need to make your
Absolutely.
store run well? Is it your team? Is it the clinicians? Is it the products that you have?
I think it's a good healthy mix between all of the three that you just mentioned, actually. You've got to have a good management team structure in place to deal with things like complaints, to deal with things like unhappy customers, or if there's any issues or concerns that are coming up, whether it's performance related or absence related. Someone's always keeping on top of that. But not only that, you also need product knowledge. I think is the key, because you can have things on the shelves like your frames, and you can have booklets that show all the lenses that you have available, but without someone there to fully explain and understand what that patient's needs are and what they need to help them, that going back to addressing their chief complaint. If we don't have the product knowledge, then we may not have the right solution for that patient. Example of which being, I think a couple of months ago, we did a varifocal for a pilot, and he was happy with them, he enjoyed them really well, but when he looks up, he can't see any of the switches above him or some of the dials, and we realized, well, that makes his varifocal reading sections at the bottom. And it was just a little bit of product knowledge from Dan that said, or, you know, you need something like a double D bifocal, or you have a segment at the top and a segment at the bottom, and that worked brilliantly, and
Oh,
patient
nice.
loved us. So, you know, product knowledge is, I think, is the key, as well as a good structure and a management structure in the store. Other than that, you know, yes, of course, having the quality frames on the shelves, but also having a range. You know, I really like what Vision Express is doing right now with the See Well for Less, where we're starting to see more quality products at a lower price point for our customers. And that's really helped us and to get good quality products at a reasonable price as well.
Really interesting to hear. And it's amazing how much goes into it. And it's not just a 9 to 5. There's so many different aspects of running JV. Just the last thing which you touched on earlier on, when you were looking to buy into your store, you said that only 10% of the people in your area worked in retail. So you have to look into that area. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to buy a JV? What kind of things should they look into before committing to it?
Oh, absolutely. So me and Dan, we did so much. So we were given, you know, a list of these are the stores that are available, and we just spent 2 or 3 days mystery shopping the area, mystery shopping competition. You know, popping into local supermarkets, popping into the whole shopping center or the high street as a general, just to see what the vibe is like, what the type of clientele are like in the area. We also had a little drive around to see what the houses are like, and popped into estate agents, you know, figuring out what the housing market's like in the area, just to really get us a good idea of what the demographic is. But we even went further. We looked at census data. Looked at data on Kingston's government UK website, and then just looked at all the census data that was available. And with us just recently having the most recent census and results of coming back, probably being out soon, that's going to be really good information for anyone looking to open up their own business.
That's good. Sometimes you don't know where to look. So it's amazing that you have this suggestion of looking at the census online, and it's available to anyone. So it's important to look into the area, the team, the kind of people that are in your area before you commit to it. Rishi, look, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add about being a JV that we haven't touched on?
I think one thing I wanted to say is that a lot of people are very comfortable where they are. I know I was for many years, and you know, if I didn't have a push from friends and family around me to say, you know, you could do Optum, you can go on to do this, I probably would still be a DO right now, just working, you know, for someone else, and I wouldn't have actually, you know, taken that step to go further. I think it's important for anyone in any role, whether you're a business owner, whether you're optical assistant, lab technician, manager, is to really think, you know, I've been at this position for 2 3 years now, and I haven't gone up anywhere. I've only kind of stayed linear. And then you should just think to say, well, look, what am I doing? Am I progressing this year? If I haven't gotten anything better, let's say more qualifications or a better salary this year, then you haven't really progressed. And for anyone out there looking to kind of think, well, what's my next step? Just go out there and just find it. Just do something. Because honestly, every year that you go forward, it's better than 1 year staying exactly where you are.
Definitely. And sometimes it's worth taking a pay cut in order to get to where you want. If it's going to drive you, if it's going to progress you. Um, Sometimes you have to take a pay cut to own a business, and then that's how it goes on in the future, and then you reap the rewards later on. So yeah, definitely, I like your suggestion of not staying linear. Make sure you always progress.
Absolutely.
Now, last thing, Rishi, if there was anything in the optical industry that you would change, what would it be?
I think I mentioned this earlier about OA salaries.
Okay.
I think our optical assistants, especially the optical assistants where I'm working, my colleagues are absolutely fantastic, and they deserve way more than what the industry is giving them at the moment. There's so many things you can do. Like you know, me and Dan have only recently started giving out things like afternoon tea for some OAs that are doing really well as little bonuses,
Nice.
just to really show them that we appreciate them. and that they care, but we care. I think more has to be done with optical assistants in general, especially those, I've worked with optical assistants that could easily be a DO and have more knowledge than some optometrists I know, I think. So it's definitely worth showing them that actually that they're really appreciated. And if we can do that by ways of, salary incentives and bonuses and things like this, then I think as an industry as a whole, something we should really be behind.
Now that's a really good point, because sometimes it's the OAs that get forgotten, but they're the most important part, 100%. Well, Rishi, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. And viewers, thank you very much for attending and listening in. Keep your eyes peeled out for the next one. Take care and goodbye.